The scene begins with a peaceful moment in the rabbit colony. Two large rabbits are seen resting with their backs turned, while the baby rabbits excitedly rush toward Sejun, who is lying on a flat rock, relaxing. Their tiny feet kick up dust as they eagerly gather around him, their energy seemingly endless. Meanwhile, the husband rabbit and another rabbit share a sweet and affectionate moment, rubbing their faces together in a display of closeness. The atmosphere is warm and lively, showing just how much the rabbits have bonded under Sejun's care. As Sejun observes the scene, he reflects on the past few days. Since planting the carrot seeds, he expected them to grow naturally, but he's noticed something unusual. The rabbits have been digging holes in front of where he planted the seeds. This makes him wonder, are they really that obsessed with carrots? His curiosity grows as he watches them closely, realizing that their love for carrots might cause problems for his farming plans. After observing the rabbits' obsession with carrots, Sejun decides to take a short nap, planning to pollinate the flowers and cut onions later in the afternoon. He reclines comfortably, cradling a baby rabbit in his arms as he relaxes on the ground. Just as he begins to drift off, a sudden buzzing sound fills the air. A mysterious insect with glowing purple eyes swiftly approaches him, its wings fluttering rapidly. Before Sejun can react, the bug lands directly on his face, startling him awake. His hand instinctively swats at it, but the bug swiftly dodges his movements. Annoyed and still groggy from his interrupted nap, Sejun abruptly sits up, clutching the baby rabbit tightly as he looks around in frustration. Why did this bug suddenly show up? His moment of peace has been completely ruined. Sejun, still startled from his unexpected encounter, watches as the mysterious bug hovers in front of him, its large, glowing purple eyes staring directly at him. The creature flutters its delicate wings, emitting a soft humming sound, as it curiously observes Sejun. Feeling a mix of caution and curiosity, Sejun slowly reaches out his hand, unsure whether the insect is friend or foe. The bug tilts its head slightly, as if trying to understand his intentions. For a moment, there's a tense silence between them, until Sejun suddenly realizes how adorable the creature looks. With its bright eyes, small body, and delicate wings, it doesn't seem threatening at all. Overcome with excitement, Sejun's expression shifts from wariness to fascination. Is this some kind of monster in the form of a bug? Getting to his feet, he beckons the insect to come closer. He wants to identify it properly and figure out its name. The baby rabbit in his arms lets out a small squeak, equally intrigued by the unexpected visitor. As Sejun reaches out, a status window suddenly pops up, revealing the creature's identity: Poison Honeybee. His eyes widen in shock as he quickly processes the name. Poison Honeybee? The realization sends a jolt of panic through him, and he instinctively jumps back, throwing his arms up in defense. Still hovering calmly, the bee doesn't make any aggressive movements, but Sejun's alarm only grows. He turns to the rabbits, his voice rising. Guys, isn't it danger? Before he can even finish, the baby rabbits and husband rabbit are already sprinting away, leaving a trail of dust behind them. Their small bodies move at lightning speed, their panic evident as they disappear in the distance. Sejun, now left alone with the poison honeybee, swallows nervously, realizing that he might have to face this situation by himself. As Sejun stands frozen in fear, the rabbits quickly retreat, leaving him behind. His face twists in shock and betrayal as he watches them disappear. His hands tremble with frustration, and he cries out in disbelief, unable to process what just happened. Suddenly, a status window appears, revealing information about the poison honeybee. The system classifies it as a non-aggressive monster that only attacks in self-defense. However, this information does little to comfort Sejun, who is still terrified. Realizing he's now alone with the bee, Sejun's survival instincts kick in, and he immediately starts to back away cautiously. His eyes dart around for an escape route, his breathing quick and uneven. But before he can come up with a proper plan, the bee buzzes loudly, causing Sejun to panic completely. He abruptly turns and runs, his heart pounding as he sprints away frantically, arms flailing as he tries to escape. The buzzing seems to follow him, and in his blind panic, Sejun trips over his own feet, causing him to fall forward. His body crashes onto the ground, but just before he fully lands, his hand instinctively grabs onto a flower, gripping it tightly. As Sejun struggles on the ground, still gripped by fear, he grabs the green onion flower. in desperation. Without thinking, he flings it toward the poison honeybee, hoping to distract it or buy himself some time to escape. The bee, startled by the sudden motion, shifts its attention toward the green onion flower. It hovers in place, its large purple eyes locked onto the plant, as if something about it has piqued its interest. Sejun, still on edge, lowers his arm cautiously, his breath uneven as he observes the bee's reaction. Instead of attacking him, the poison honeybee buzzes toward the onion flower, seemingly drawn to its scent. Realizing what just happened, Sejun furrows his brows in confusion. His heart is still racing, but he slowly starts to process the situation. Did the bee stop attacking because of the flower? He watches intently, still unsure if he's truly safe. Sejun watches in shock as the poison honeybee enthusiastically buries itself into the yellow onion flower, eagerly sipping the nectar. Its once threatening demeanor completely changes, now looking content and cheerful as it enjoys the flower's moisture. Still tense from the encounter, Sejun recalls what he knew about poison honeybees. Weren't they supposed to be carnivorous predators? But here was one, happily feasting on flower nectar instead of attacking. A realization dawns on him. Moisture. The bee must have been thirsty all along, not hungry for flesh. Sejun's fear fades, and he leans in with curiosity, calling out to the poison honeybee with a newfound confidence. Maybe, just maybe, this situation wasn't as dangerous as he first thought. Sejun, now more relaxed, watches as the poison honeybee gleefully sips nectar from the onion flowers. Seeing that it means no harm, he encourages it to continue eating from the rest of the flowers, offering them freely. The bee, delighted, flutters around, happily drinking more nectar. Sejun grins to himself, realizing that if the bee continues pollinating, he won't have to do it manually anymore, a task he previously found tedious. Just as he feels satisfied with the turn of events, the baby rabbits timidly return, peeking out from behind a rock. Sejun narrows his eyes at them, still holding a grudge for abandoning him earlier. Now that the danger had passed, they dared to come back? He folds his arms, ready to confront them for their betrayal. As Sejun stands with his arms crossed, still upset at the baby rabbits for running away earlier, they begin rubbing against him, trying to appease him. Their cuddly nature makes it hard for him to stay mad, but he tries to hold his ground, warning them that he won't forgive them so easily. Meanwhile, the poison honeybee, having eaten its fill of nectar, suddenly turns its attention back to Sejun. It hovers closer, its large purple eyes fixed on him. Sejun, noticing this, instinctively takes a step back, trying to create some distance. However, the bee keeps approaching, now directly in front of him. Sejun's nervousness grows, realizing it's coming way too close for comfort. As he stiffens in fear, the bee suddenly presses its face against his chest, almost like it's nuzzling him. Sejun watches as the poison honeybee comfortably nuzzles against his chest, its small body nestling in as if preparing to sleep. Despite his initial fear, he finds its behavior unexpectedly cute, but a lingering concern remains. Is it really safe to keep a poisonous bee so close? As he rests on the rock, surrounded by the baby rabbits, he cautiously watches the bee, wondering if it might sting him at any moment. But instead of acting aggressively, the bee simply stays by his side, as if it has accepted him. With this, Sejun realizes that their little family has grown. The poison honeybee is now part of their group. Time passes quickly, and the scene shifts to a wide view of his thriving farm. The crops are flourishing, with cherry tomatoes and green onions growing abundantly. On the wall of the cave, a series of tally marks are carved into the stone, marking the passing days since Sejun first got lost in the tower. It is now the 120th day of his life inside the tower. The tally marks on the cave wall show the passing days, marking the 120th day since Sejun first got lost in the tower. Meanwhile, the farm is thriving, with lush green crops and ripe cherry tomatoes filling the space. The rabbits are full of energy, playfully running around while Sejun is hard at work. The husband rabbit, wearing its signature straw hat, carries a small watering can, diligently helping to water the crops. Its expression is cheerful and determined, as if taking great pride in its farming duties. Sejun, however, finds himself struggling to focus with the baby rabbits constantly running around him, their endless energy making it difficult for him to work. He shoos them away, urging them to play somewhere else while he continues tending to the farm. As he watches the rabbits happily running through the green fields, he can't help but smile. Seeing them enjoy themselves reminds him of childhood, where playing freely was the most important thing. Several weeks have passed since the poison honeybee arrived at the farm. She has settled into a routine, spending her mornings working in the fields, gathering nectar from flowers, and then returning to the forest outside the cave in the evenings. Seijun notices her behavior and wonders if she has abandoned her original group, choosing to stay here instead. As the day progresses, Seijun realizes that it's almost lunchtime and starts preparing food. The rabbits gather around excitedly, knowing a meal is coming. Meanwhile, the poison honeybee suddenly spits out honey, something she only started doing a few days ago. Seijun is intrigued by this new development, watching curiously as the bee continues producing honey, possibly as a result of her daily nectar collection. The poison honeybee continues producing honey, and Seijun watches as it drips onto a freshly pulled green onion. The honey soaks into the vegetable, and a system notification appears, revealing a new item: honey onion. Curious, Seijun takes a bite and is shocked by its sweetness. The usually strong flavor of the green onion is now perfectly balanced with the thick honey, creating a delicious new taste. Even the rabbits eagerly take a bite, clearly enjoying the new treat. Reflecting on his initial fear of the poison honeybee, Seijun laughs at how he once thought she was dangerous. Instead, she has helped him quickly expand his farm, allowing him to harvest honey more efficiently. Feeling optimistic about the future, Seijun confidently declares that in just a few months, he will have so much honey that even the bears won't be jealous anymore. A notification appears, indicating that the tower manager is pleased with his progress. Seijun celebrates, enjoying his new sweet harvest. Seijun stands inside his cave, marking another day on the wall as he tracks the passage of time. As he stares at the markings, he realizes something important. The blue moon might be approaching soon. The thought immediately worries him. He recalls what happened last time and the dangers that came with it. With a hopeful sigh, he wishes that this blue moon cycle will pass safely without any major troubles. Outside, the sky remains calm for now, but the uncertainty lingers. Meanwhile, Seijun continues his daily routine, gathering fresh cherry tomatoes from his field on the 121st day since getting lost in the tower. Seijun is gathering supplies, ensuring he has enough food to last through the coming days. With a basket full of cherry tomatoes and a bundle of green onion leaves, he feels prepared for whatever may come. He notices something strange. The poison honeybee hasn't returned. This makes him suspect that she too is getting ready for the blue moon. Meanwhile, the rabbits are acting restless. Their anxious behavior catches his attention, confirming his suspicions that something is approaching. Realizing that it's almost time, Seijun quickly gathers his things and calls for the rabbits to return home before nightfall. As Seijun prepares to head home, a sudden tension fills the air. The husband and wife rabbits react immediately, swiftly hugging their baby rabbits in a tight embrace. Their movements are quick, almost instinctive, as if they've sensed something dangerous approaching. But just as fast as they embrace their young, the two parent rabbits abruptly release them and bolt towards their home, leaving the baby rabbits behind. Seijun watches this unfold in shock and confusion. He expected them to gather their babies, but instead they fled alone, their urgency making it clear that something isn't right. As Seijun watches in shock, the husband and wife rabbits reach their burrow and, without hesitation, jump inside. They turn around for a brief moment, looking at Seijun with their usual cheerful expressions, as if nothing is wrong. Then, with a swift motion, they slam the wooden door shut, sealing themselves inside. Seijun is left dumbfounded. His mind races as he processes what just happened. Why did they leave their babies behind? They had hugged them just moments ago. Yet instead of bringing them along, they abandoned them and ran home alone. His confusion quickly turns into panic. Something is terribly wrong. And then it hits him. The blue moon is coming. A deep, ominous rumble echoes through the air as the sky above shifts into an unnatural shade of blue. Seijun stands frozen, his eyes wide in shock, his breath caught in his throat. Above him, the blue moon rises, casting an eerie, glowing light over the entire area. A chilling aura washes over him, and his instincts scream that something dangerous is about to happen. His body tenses as a cold sweat drips down his face. The strange energy radiating from the blue moon makes his surroundings feel unreal. almost as if the world itself is shifting. Seijun slowly turns his head, his hood reflecting the strange blue glow, his pulse racing. What is about to happen? And why did the parent rabbits abandon their babies just before this moment? A deafening, inhuman shriek pierces through the air, sending chills down Seijun's spine. The once peaceful atmosphere is shattered as monstrous creatures emerge from the darkness. Towering, mutated rabbits, their fur now a sinister shade of blue, snarl with glowing red eyes filled with rage. Their bodies pulse with a terrifying energy, their fangs bared, their claws digging into the earth. Seijun stands frozen, gripping his supplies tightly, his heart pounding violently in his chest. He barely has time to process what's happening before the mutated creatures charge at him, their roars shaking the ground beneath him. The realization hits him like a hammer. This is why the parent rabbits ran away. They knew what was coming. The blue moon has triggered something terrible, and now Seijun is face to face with a nightmare he never expected. Seijun's heart pounds as he watches in horror. The once adorable rabbits he cared for have undergone a terrifying transformation under the glow of the blue moon. Their muscles bulge, their fluffy fur darkens, and their eyes turn into glowing red orbs filled with pure aggression. No longer the harmless creatures he once knew. They now look like feral beasts, their sharp claws digging into the ground as they prepare to attack. With a deafening roar, the monstrous rabbits charge forward, their movements swift and predatory. Seijun stiffens, cold sweat dripping down his face as reality sinks in. He is in grave danger. Just as the first rabbit lunges toward him, its fangs bared, a sudden surge of energy erupts from Seijun's hands. A brilliant light flares up, crackling with raw power. He looks down, eyes wide with shock. Something within him has awakened at this critical moment. But will it be enough to stop the onslaught? As Seijun's energy surges, a brilliant light engulfs the monstrous rabbits. Their dark, feral forms begin to glow with a radiant aura, as if something deep within them is being purified. Then, in an instant, the aggressive, red-eyed beasts are transformed into normal rabbits, small, fluffy, and harmless. They leap into the air, twirling and bouncing gracefully, surrounded by a shower of sparkling energy. Seijun watches in shock and relief as the once terrifying creatures now appear playful and joyful, hopping around as if celebrating their freedom from corruption. The tense battle atmosphere fades, replaced by a sense of wonder. Whatever just happened, it saved Seijun's life. But was this his doing? Or was it the power of the blue moon? Seijun stands in shock and confusion, staring at the rabbits that had just undergone a miraculous transformation under the blue moon's light. Their once small, round forms are now slightly larger and more refined, and some of them even have different fur colors than before. As he looks closer, realization dawns upon him. These are the same baby rabbits he had been taking care of. But now, after experiencing 5 blue moons since their birth, they have matured into adult rabbits. Understanding that this event is like a coming-of-age ceremony for the rabbits, Seijun feels a wave of relief wash over him. For a moment, he had feared something terrible had happened to them. Overcome with emotion, he wipes his teary eyes, feeling a deep sense of connection and pride for the little ones he had raised. As Seijun stands there, overwhelmed with relief and emotion, the small black rabbit steps forward. With its newly changed appearance, it gently places its tiny paw on Seijun's hand, as if offering comfort. Seijun, deeply touched by the gesture, can't resist the overwhelming cuteness. Without thinking, he grabs the black rabbit and gives it a big affectionate kiss on its soft fur. The other rabbits immediately react with shock. Their ears perk up in alarm, and in a flash they scatter in every direction, desperately running away from Seijun. It's clear they don't want to be next. Seijun laughs as he watches them flee, amused by their reactions. Meanwhile, the black rabbit, stunned by the unexpected kiss, sits frozen in place. As the blue moon starts to fade, the parent rabbits finally emerge from their burrow, signaling that everything has returned to normal, or at least as normal as life in the tower can be. With the blue moon event behind them, Seijun watches as the young rabbits settle back into their usual playful nature. Seeing their newly matured forms, he wonders if he should prepare a special meal to celebrate their coming-of-age milestone. As he contemplates the idea, one of the white rabbits excitedly hops toward him. It raises its paw, getting his attention, before suddenly summoning a glowing shovel out of thin air. Seijun's eyes widen in shock as the mystical shovel appears in the rabbit's grasp, shining with an enchanting glow. His surprise quickly turns into curiosity. What in the world is that? He stares in amazement, realizing that this is no ordinary shovel. It seems like the rabbits have gained new abilities after their transformation. Seijun watches in awe as the young rabbits proudly summon various farming tools, each suited to their needs. One rabbit conjures a shovel, another wields a hoe, and even the smallest one pulls out a tiny cart. His eyes widen as he realizes that every rabbit that has reached adulthood seems to have gained the ability to summon its own specialized farming tool. Curious, he questions their newfound abilities, wondering if these tools are exclusive to them or if he can borrow one. However, before he gets an answer, he turns his gaze toward the black rabbit, who has yet to summon anything. Seijun tilts his head, intrigued. Huh? What about you? He wonders if the black rabbit's ability is different, or if it's just choosing not to show its tool yet. The black rabbit raises its tiny paw confidently, summoning a glowing object. As the light fades, a massive wooden hammer appears in its grasp, completely different from the farming tools the other rabbits received. Seijun stares at it in confusion. A hammer? But that's not a farming tool, is it? He expected a shovel or maybe a watering can, but instead, the black rabbit looks like it's ready for battle. Holding the hammer with pride, the black rabbit puffs out its chest, as if declaring its role isn't just farming. It's fighting. A notification suddenly pops up, revealing its new title. Warrior Black Rabbit. Seijun's eyes widen. A warrior? What kind of farmer rabbit is this? The black rabbit smirks confidently, giving a wink as it grips its hammer. Unlike the others, it doesn't seem concerned with farming. Instead, it radiates a strong, battle-ready presence. Meanwhile, the morning light shines through the cave's opening, signaling the start of a new day. The other rabbits are already hard at work. One rabbit carries a bucket of water, another pushes a wheelbarrow filled with crops, and some are harvesting onions with precision, their tiny scythes slicing through the plants effortlessly. It's a well-organized farm, with each rabbit knowing its role. While the white rabbits focus on cultivating and gathering food, the black rabbit seems destined for something entirely different. Seijun organizes the freshly harvested cherry tomatoes, while one of the rabbits carefully places a tray filled with more next to him. He expresses his gratitude, acknowledging the hard work of the young rabbits. Looking around, he observes how the once tiny, playful babies have matured. Now, they diligently assist their parents with farming tasks, carrying supplies, watering crops, and harvesting vegetables. Feeling sentimental, Seijun wipes an imaginary tear, proud of their growth and development. However, as his eyes land on the black rabbit, his expression changes. While everyone is working hard, the black rabbit is lounging on the ground, casually nibbling on a tomato, its hammer resting beside it. Seijun sighs, realizing that, despite its intimidating title, the warrior black rabbit is essentially unemployed. Seijun contemplates the black rabbit's role, considering its title as a warrior. Since the farm is in a safe, enclosed area, there are no enemies to fight or protect against, making the rabbit's combat skills practically useless for now. To make matters worse, its hammer isn't suited for farming tasks, leaving the black rabbit without a clear purpose. Seijun, feeling a bit guilty about its lack of work, ponders how to make it useful. Then, an idea strikes him. Hunting. He recalls the pond nearby, and suggests that the black rabbit put its strength to use by catching fish. With a plan in mind, Seijun picks up a torch to attract the fish, while the black rabbit, now eager to prove itself, prepares its hammer for action. Excited, Seijun cheers it on, eager to see the warrior's skills in action for the first time. Seijun swings the torch over the pond, its flickering flames illuminating the water and attracting the attention of a large fish. The fish, startled by the sudden light, leaps out of the water in a panic. Seizing the opportunity, Seijun gives the signal to the black rabbit. With a determined expression, the warrior rabbit jumps high into the air, gripping its massive hammer tightly. With impressive speed and precision, the black rabbit swings its hammer with all its strength, delivering a powerful strike mid-air. The impact is so intense that it creates a shockwave upon contact. The force of the attack sends ripples through the air, and now, all that's left is to see the result of its mighty blow. As the shockwave settles, Sejun and the black rabbit wait in anticipation. The black rabbit lands gracefully, setting its hammer down with a satisfied expression. Suddenly, a large thud echoes through the cave. Something massive has fallen. Sejun's eyes widen in shock as he stares at the ground, his expression shifting from excitement to absolute horror. Lying before them is an enormous fish carcass, completely obliterated by the rabbit's overwhelming strength. Only its skeletal remains and a few scraps of meat remain. A heavy silence falls over the group as they all stare at the ruined fish, processing the disastrous outcome of their first hunting attempt. Sejun lets out a nervous laugh, trying to ease the tension after the failed fish hunt. He reassures the black rabbit, encouraging it to keep practicing to improve its skills. To lift everyone's spirits, he shifts the focus back to their meal, inviting the rabbits to gather and eat together. The rabbits, despite the mishap, eagerly return to their daily tasks, showing signs of growing into their respective roles. Time passes, and after 125 days, an exciting notification pops up. The seed store has reopened. Sejun's eyes light up with excitement as he considers what to buy this time, eager to make another purchase that could improve their farm even further. As Sejun browses the seed store, he immediately notices something strange. The prices have changed significantly compared to the last time. He is only left with 0.9 tower coins, which limits him to purchasing only waxy corn seeds. Concern starts to creep in as he realizes that if the prices keep increasing, he might not be able to afford anything next time. The real problem is that there is no clear way for him to earn more money inside the tower. His mind begins to analyze how tower coins are usually earned. One method is clearing a floor, which rewards a one-time prize. But since the tower is a dangerous place, most hunters don't profit much from it. The second method is through hunting monsters, something Sejun hasn't done yet. His thoughts begin to drift towards possibilities, wondering if this might be the key to earning more tower coins and sustaining his farming progress. Sejun continues to analyze ways to earn tower coins, realizing that selling monster bodies to the wandering merchant or the store on the first floor is the most reliable source of income for hunters. Since it's repeatable, they can continuously profit from hunting. Another method is completing quests, though the rewards vary greatly, making it unpredictable. Among the three main ways, clearing floors, hunting monsters, or completing quests, Sejun immediately rules out clearing floors, as he is trapped in the cave with no way to escape. That leaves him with one last option, the highest level quest given by the tower manager. Hoping this might be his chance, he calls out to the tower manager, asking if he can receive his quest rewards and tower coins immediately. Sejun waits for a response from the tower manager, but the reply he receives is not what he expected. The tower manager states that he can't receive his reward right now, but he will, once he grows up. Frustrated, Sejun questions what that even means. When he asks for clarification, the tower manager avoids the question, calling it a secret. However, after pushing further, Sejun finally gets an answer. He needs to be at least 300 years old to claim the reward. Shocked and outraged, Sejun realizes that if he starts saving tower coins now, he'd have to pass them down for generations, and only his 7th-generation grandchild would finally receive them. This ridiculous situation pushes Sejun over the edge, making him furious. As he kneels on the ground, trying to calm himself, he mutters in frustration about how unfair this is, especially since he's not even in a position to have descendants right now. After cooling down, Sejun shifts his focus to what he can do to survive in the present moment. Since his options are limited, he decides to purchase corn seeds, as it's the only item he can afford with his remaining 0.9 tower coin. He considers the versatility of corn. It can be steamed, grilled, or even ground into flour to make something similar to bread. Though he's unsure if his plan will work, it's better than nothing. With that decision, Sejun selects the waxy corn seeds, spending 0.5 tower coin to purchase 200 seeds. A notification confirms the transaction, deducting the amount from his seed bank account and granting him 5 seed shop mileage points. However, as expected, the seed store closes again, and he won't be able to access it for another 30 days. As the magic pouch containing the seeds materializes in front of him, Sejun reaches out and firmly grasps it. His next step for survival begins. Sejun opens the pouch, revealing a handful of golden waxy corn seeds. The sight of them gives him a small sense of relief. This is another step towards securing his food supply. He shows the seeds to the farmer rabbits, hoping to get their opinion. The hat-wearing rabbit inspects them closely, its expression neutral but observant. Seijun, however, takes their lack of complaint as approval. With renewed determination, he raises his hand, rallying the rabbits. It's time to start planting. But just as he's about to begin, his stomach growls loudly, reminding him of something more urgent. Realizing that working on an empty stomach is a bad idea, he changes plans. They need to eat first. As the fire crackles, 2 large fish wrapped in leaves are being grilled, filling the air with a delicious aroma. A plate of cooked fish sits nearby, ready to be eaten. With a good meal ahead, Seijun and his rabbit companions prepare to feast before they begin their next big task. After a hearty meal, Seijun leans back, patting his stomach in satisfaction. He's completely stuffed and can't eat another bite. With some fish left over, he considers drying and storing it for later use. As he relaxes, the poison honeybee flutters into the cave, catching Seijun's attention. He greets the tiny creature with a warm smile, noting how it has been spending more and more time here instead of returning to the outside forest. Curious, he wonders if the honeybee is neglecting its home, but ultimately he doesn't mind. With a grin, he welcomes the little bee, affectionately nuzzling it against his cheek, appreciating its cute and loyal presence. However, the calm atmosphere shifts as a sudden rustling sound echoes from nearby. The honeybee immediately tenses, its eyes widening in alertness, sensing that something unexpected is about to happen. The sudden rustling from the bushes puts Seijun and his companions on high alert. The poison honeybee quickly flies up, scanning the area, while the black rabbit warrior grips its hammer, prepared for an imminent threat. Seijun, still startled, instinctively steps back as the tension in the air thickens. He calls out to the rabbits, trying to make sense of the situation, but before anyone can react further, an unfamiliar voice echoes from the cave's entrance. A mysterious figure emerges, frantically waving its paws in defense, insisting it's not a monster nor a thief looking to steal their food. Seijun's eyes widen in confusion. A talking cat? The rabbits, still on edge, remain cautious, their eyes locked on the intruder. Seijun, trying to process everything, demands to know, "Then why have you come here?" as he braces for an unexpected turn of events. As tension fills the air, the mysterious figure suddenly leaps down from the edge of the cave, landing gracefully before Seijun. His eyes widen in shock as the dust settles, revealing a cat dressed in a tiny cloak carrying a small bag. With a casual wave of its paw, the cat greets Seijun politely, showing no signs of hostility. "Hello." Seijun, still caught off guard, watches as the cat confidently approaches, tilting its head in curiosity. Then, in a formal yet relaxed tone, the cat asks, "Are you perhaps customer Park Seijun?" Seijun blinks in confusion. A talking cat, dressed like a merchant, just jumped into his farm. What on earth is going on? The mysterious cat stands proudly before Seijun, a confident smile on its face as it introduces itself. "I'm Theo, the wandering merchant." Seijun stares in disbelief, his mind struggling to process what he's just heard. A talking cat that also happens to be a merchant? As the night settles, Seijun reflects on his unusual journey in the tower. Lost, surviving, and now, meeting a merchant cat? His diary of survival just got even more bizarre. Seijun is utterly shocked and frustrated, throwing his hands up as if processing an unfair situation. His love for cats is evident, but he seems to feel scammed or deceived by something. The scene shifts, and Seijun now stands in front of the merchant cat, observing it carefully. His stance is more composed, but he is still wary of the newcomer. Theo, the merchant cat, remains calm and collected, exuding an air of professionalism. It bows politely, adjusting its satchel as if preparing for a formal transaction. Seijun, now more curious than frustrated, listens carefully as Theo explains its purpose. The cat's posture remains dignified, and its expression conveys confidence. It seems to be here for an official business exchange. Theo, the merchant cat, confidently presents itself, ready to make a deal. It clutches its small pouch, suggesting it has valuable goods to offer. As Theo begins its pitch, a loud stomach growl interrupts the moment. The cat freezes in embarrassment, its face showing a slight flush of shame for revealing its hunger in front of a customer. Seijun, realizing the situation, Theo awkwardly apologizes, explaining that he hasn't eaten yet. His casual stance suggests mild embarrassment for making Sejun feel uncomfortable. Theo, attempting to laugh off the awkwardness, gives a sheepish chuckle, covering its mouth as if trying to save face. Meanwhile, Sejun's expression suddenly shifts into a wide, unsettling grin, his face shadowed ominously. His eyes gleam with mischief, hinting that he might have just thought of something devious. Sejun smirks, addressing the merchant cat by name, Theo, while holding up a freshly roasted fish. Theo stiffens, its eyes widening at the sight of the delicious meal. It gulps nervously, ears twitching as it struggles to maintain composure, but the glistening fish is clearly tempting it. Sejun, amused, extends the fish closer, silently offering it. Theo instinctively reacts, letting out an excited meow, as if caught off guard. Suddenly, Theo's entire demeanor shifts. Its eyes sparkle with pure joy, and its paws tremble in excitement. It starts vibrating with happiness, overcome by the delicious scent of the roasted fish, looking like it's about to pounce on the meal. But then Theo snaps back to reality, forcing itself to resist. It stands up straight, waving its paws in polite refusal, desperately trying to suppress its craving while insisting it cannot accept a customer's food. Sejun continues teasing Theo, waving the grilled fish closer, emphasizing its sweet aroma and juicy texture. He knows the cat is trying to resist, but he also knows how tempting it must be. Theo's eyes tremble, its body shaking as it tries to hold itself back. But its stomach betrays it with a loud grumble, and its ears flatten in defeat. As Sejun finally offers the fish directly, Theo panics, its body frozen between pride and hunger. But in a sudden burst of movement, it grabs the fish and dashes away, devouring it frantically out of sight. A distant mew echoes from the cave's opening, signaling Theo's pure satisfaction. Moments later, the merchant cat returns, now lying on its back with a content, sleepy expression, a fishbone clutched in its paws. With a deep sigh of bliss, Theo pats its belly, completely full and satisfied, looking like the happiest cat in the world. Sejun sits contently by the fire, his stomach full, while Theo the merchant cat lounges nearby, looking completely satisfied. The cat had just devoured 5 whole fish, leaving only bones behind. Theo expresses gratitude, acknowledging that the meal was a rare treat, something it hadn't enjoyed in a long time. It even bows politely, showing genuine appreciation for Sejun's generosity. However, Sejun's expression shifts, a sly grin forming as he casually extends his hand. Theo looks up in confusion, its ears twitching. Sejun cheerfully reminds the cat that meals aren't free. Theo has to pay for the food it just ate. Theo's eyes widen in shock, caught completely off guard by the unexpected bill. Sejun firmly insists that nothing in this world comes for free, much to Theo's dismay. The merchant cat, still reeling from the unexpected charge, tries to avoid eye contact as Sejun reminds it that it came here for a business deal, not a free meal. The black rabbit watches amused, while the white rabbits seem curious about the exchange. Sejun, with a smug grin, extends his hand, making it clear that payment is expected. Realizing it has no choice, Theo begrudgingly hands over a tower coin, visibly defeated. Sejun, on the other hand, is thrilled, holding up the coin triumphantly. Meanwhile, Theo looks devastated, realizing that what was supposed to be a business trip had instead started with a financial loss. The cat's ears droop as it reflects on its misfortune. After suffering a financial setback, Theo refuses to admit defeat. Determined to turn things around, the merchant cat eagerly lays out its goods, dramatically flipping open a cloth to reveal its inventory. With a confident pose, Theo proudly presents a collection of rare items, claiming they are hot commodities from another floor. Displayed on the cloth are a tumbler, a mini fan, and a portable hand warmer, each priced at 5 tower coins. Sejun, intrigued but skeptical, examines the items closely, immediately realizing that these are modern products, things that shouldn't even exist in the tower. The white rabbits curiously observe while the black rabbit stays cautiously alert, seemingly unimpressed by the merchant's flashy sales tactics. Theo, still beaming with confidence, waits for Sejun's reaction, determined to make a sale. Theo enthusiastically begins showcasing the items, highlighting their magical properties to justify their high prices. First, the cat merchant proudly presents the tumbler, claiming it possesses preservation magic, allowing it to maintain the temperature of any hot or cold beverage stored inside. Next, Theo lifts the mini fan, explaining that it's enchanted with wind magic. With just a press of a switch, the fan will generate a refreshing breeze, a convenient and innovative tool within the tower. However, before Theo can continue his sales pitch, Sejun suddenly raises a hand, interrupting the merchant. He looks at the displayed items with a deadpan expression and bluntly calls them trash, completely shattering Theo's confidence in an instant. Theo is left stunned, his eyes widening in shock and disbelief, as Sejun mercilessly criticizes the value of the so-called hot items. Theo is outraged by Sejun's harsh words, unable to believe that his carefully selected outside world items are being dismissed so easily. He argues passionately, insisting that these goods are rare and valuable, coming from beyond the tower. However, Sejun remains unimpressed. Calmly and confidently, he explains that he, too, is from outside the tower, and he knows exactly what these items are. Theo's eyes widen in shock, as this revelation completely catches him off guard. Sejun then picks up the tumbler, debunking Theo's claim of it having magic preservation. Instead, he corrects the merchant, explaining that the tumbler simply prevents heat transfer by insulation, not magic. Moving on to the mini fan and hand warmer, Sejun further exposes the truth, pointing out that both of these items run on batteries. Once the batteries drain, they'll become completely useless, making them far from magical artifacts. Theo, who had been so confident in his sales pitch, is now left speechless, struggling to process Sejun's brutal takedown of his so-called premium goods. Theo desperately clings to his belief that the items he brought contain magic, insisting that Ekram, the one who sold them to him, wouldn't lie. But Sejun remains unfazed, demonstrating that the mini-fan has already stopped working, proving that it was never magical in the first place, but rather just battery-operated. Realization dawns on Theo as he frantically shakes the fan, trying to prove Sejun wrong. But no matter what he does, the fan refuses to turn back on. His confidence shatters as he slowly accepts the truth. Sejun then delivers the final blow, bluntly stating that Theo must have been scammed by Ekram. The words hit hard, and Theo's ears droop as he struggles to process the betrayal. Staggering backwards in disbelief, he mutters that it's impossible. After all, Ekram was so kind to him. But then, as the shock fully settles in, his demeanor completely changes. With a dramatic outburst, Theo's fur bristles, his paws slam against the ground, and he wails in frustration, cursing Ekram for being a bad goblin who took advantage of him. Utterly defeated, he slumps down, whining about his terrible luck and questioning why he always gets scammed. As Theo continues to sulk, Sejun, now curious about his situation, gently asks him to explain what happened. The merchant cat, still hiccuping from distress, finally starts to reveal his story. Theo mentions that he used to live on the 75th floor of the tower, a place that is known as a neutral zone where different beings coexist peacefully. The scene then shifts to a picturesque village setting, showing bustling streets and wooden houses. Theo's nostalgia is evident as he begins to reminisce about his past. It turns out that for a long time, Theo harbored feelings for a beautiful white cat named Mari, who was considered the most stunning girl in Granar village. Filled with determination, the past, Theo is seen standing in the middle of the village square, gathering courage. He clutches a bouquet of flowers, his tail fluffed up with nervous excitement, as he finally confesses his love to Marie, boldly asking her out on a date. However, Marie, with a composed yet dismissive expression, simply crosses her arms and turns her face away, showing zero interest in his heartfelt confession. Theo's heartfelt confession takes a harsh turn when Marie, instead of responding kindly, grimaces in disgust. Without hesitation, she rejects him outright, expressing her disdain for the roasted rice fish he had worked hard to prepare as a gift for her. With a scoff of contempt, Mari swipes the fish out of Theo's hands, sending it crashing to the ground. The other village cats watch silently, some with pity, others amused by the scene. Theo, shocked and hurt, stares at the discarded fish. He struggles to comprehend why Mari would react so cruelly, especially when he put in so much effort to impress her. Before he can say anything, a dark presence looms over him. Enter Oren, a sleek, well-dressed black cat, who steps in with an air of arrogance and authority. Oren sneers at Theo, mocking him for forgetting his place and daring to approach someone like Mari. The scene intensifies as it is revealed that Oren is the son of the richest cat in the village, making it clear that he sees himself as superior to Theo in every way. Standing confidently, Oren flaunts a large, expensive fish, wrapped in a fancy ribbon, a stark contrast to Theo's humble offering. With a smug expression, he laughs condescendingly, making it clear that he is the only one worthy of Mari's attention. Oren smugly criticizes Theo's humble gift, calling the low-grade rice fish unworthy of a lady like Mari. With a condescending tone, he boasts that if Theo wanted to impress her, he should have at least brought a high-quality salmon. As he flaunts an extravagant salmon, wrapped in a fancy ribbon, Mari's expression immediately changes. Her eyes sparkle with admiration, completely swayed by the luxurious offering. Then Theo said that Mari doesn't even eat cheap food out of fear of gaining weight. Mari, however, is entirely captivated by the salmon, ignoring Theo completely. Theo's heart shatters as he watches Mari gush over Oren's gift. His ears droop, and his eyes widen in devastation, realizing how easily she was won over by wealth. Oren, basking in his triumph, wraps an arm around Mari, inviting her to his home to enjoy salmon steak together. Mari eagerly accepts, clinging to Oren's side, completely abandoning Theo without a second thought. As they walk away together, Theo, still in shock, desperately reaches out, calling after Mari, his voice filled with heartbreak. But she doesn't look back, leaving Theo standing there, alone and crushed. As Mari starts to walk away with Oren, Theo desperately calls out to her, his voice filled with pain and disbelief. He reaches for her, grasping her hand, trying to remind her of the moments they had shared together. His eyes tremble as he pleads, reminding her of their memories, their time spent together. But Mari, without hesitation, coldly rejects him. Her expression remains unmoved as she delivers the heartbreaking words. It was all just a lie. Theo's ears flatten, his breath catches in his throat, and his heart shatters as her words sink in. Everything he held dear, every moment he thought was special, had meant nothing to her. Oren stands beside Mari, watching with a smug, victorious smirk. He exudes confidence, as if he had won an obvious battle. Theo, his voice trembling but still determined, asks Mari to swear on her tears that she truly meant what she said. His eyes search hers, hoping, begging, for even a sliver of truth, a hint that their bond wasn't meaningless. But Mari averts her gaze, avoiding his eyes as guilt flickers across her face for just a moment. Oren, however, remains stone-faced, silently watching as Theo's world crumbles before him. Theo's mind drifts to the cherished memories he shared with Mari. Joyful moments spent together in the fields, running and laughing under the warm sun. He had believed those times were precious for both of them. But reality hits hard. Mari, now furious and disgusted, snaps at him. Her expression darkens, and with burning rage, she rejects his feelings outright. She tells him he had been delusional, mistaking her kindness for something more. Theo's ears flatten, his eyes widen in shock. Mari's voice rises, harsh and cruel, as she mocks him. Lightning crackles in the sky, emphasizing the storm brewing in Theo's heart. She accuses him of being an annoying nuisance, someone she had only tolerated out of pity. And then, the final blow. Her gaze hardens, filled with contempt as she glares down at him. She spits out the words that shatter his world completely. She hates poor cats like him, especially ones that smell like cheap rice fish. Before Theo can even process the pain, Mari physically strikes him, sending him flying backward. His body tumbles through the air, his heart cracking into pieces. The world around him fades, leaving behind only the echo of her cruel words. Theo's heartbreak lingers as he reflects on the past. Memories of Mari's cold rejection replay in his mind, each one cutting deeper than the last. His teary-eyed younger self is frozen in time, holding onto the pain of that moment. But he didn't just wallow in sorrow. He made a decision. With determination burning inside him, Theo ran away from his village. He set his sights on a new goal, to become rich and exact his revenge on those who looked down on him. He ventured into the world, gathering his life savings, a total of 50 tower coins, to purchase the necessary license and equipment to become a wandering merchant. His dream? To rise above his past and prove everyone wrong. Now, standing before Sejun, he recounts his journey, his struggles, his ambitions, and his plan to turn his remaining funds into profit. He had hoped to buy valuable goods from the tumbler and resell them to build his wealth. But things haven't gone as planned, and his frustration is evident. Theo recalls the moment he first met Scarum, the shady goblin merchant who introduced him to the world of trade. In a dimly lit shop filled with weapons, scrolls, and rare trinkets, Scarum greeted Theo with a sly smile, recognizing him as a new wandering merchant. The goblin, dressed in a tattered cloak and hat, introduced himself as someone who knew the secrets of the trade. Scarum revealed an intriguing opportunity. He spoke of items from outside the tower, emphasizing their immense value to the creatures on the upper floors. These beings, he claimed, collected such items as a hobby, making them highly profitable for those who knew how to trade wisely. Tempted by the promise of easy riches, Theo listened carefully, unaware that this deal might not be as trustworthy as it seemed. Theo meets Scarum, a mysterious goblin merchant, in what appears to be a bustling merchant hub. Scarum introduces himself and offers special items from outside the tower at an incredibly low price. Curious but cautious, Theo asks why Scarum would sell such valuable items so cheaply. Scarum, with a confident smirk, explains that it's simply the goodwill of a senior merchant helping a junior one. However, he also adds that if Theo isn't interested, he can always sell them to someone else. Panicked at the thought of losing out on a great deal, Theo quickly agrees to buy them. Pleased, Scarum throws in a bonus, a map that shows the location of a secret seed store available only to new merchants. He hints that if Theo reaches the store first, he could make a huge profit. Excited and trusting Scarum's words, Theo spends all his savings to buy the items, dreaming of great success. However, as he reflects, things didn't go as planned. He starved himself waiting for his profits and ended up lost in the tower instead. Theo, feeling defeated and humiliated, sits on the ground, realizing that everything he bought from Scarum turned out to be useless. Not only that, but his last remaining money was taken by Sejun in exchange for the fish he ate earlier. Now he's completely broke and hopeless. He laments about his incompetence, calling himself useless. Sejun, watching the cat spiral into self-pity, finds himself thinking that Theo is too much of a pushover. But then, a realization hits Sejun. His eyes widen as he remembers a way to earn tower coins. He suddenly gets excited. If his plan works, he might just have a way to recover some money. Sejun, seeing how defeated and miserable Theo looks, decides to offer him some roasted fish to cheer him up. However, Theo, still skeptical and wary, immediately suspects that Sejun is only giving him food to ask for payment later. But Sejun reassures him with a grin, saying he's not asking for anything in return. Yet, instead, he tells Theo that he's willing to reconsider everything the cat said before, as a fair trade. In exchange, Sejun asks Theo if he can work with them. This catches Theo off guard, and he hesitates. Meanwhile, Sejun, looking smug and satisfied, thinks to himself that he hasn't just found a pushover, but a business partner. Theo is shocked by Sejun's offer, struggling to believe what he just heard. Sejun confidently states that he needs a good merchant to help sell his items, and Theo, still full of self-doubt, questions whether he's good enough for such a role. Theo reminds Sejun that he heard his story earlier, about how he failed as a merchant and lost all his money. He calls himself a noob and a useless wandering merchant, feeling unworthy of the opportunity being given to him. Sejun reassures Theo, telling him that despite his past mistakes, he still has a good ability as a merchant. He explains that through his stories and experiences, Theo was able to gain a business partner, which is Sejun himself. Theo is surprised at the idea of having a business partner, but Sejun excitedly confirms it. To celebrate, he calls out to the rabbits. Suddenly, a white rabbit appears, dramatically revealing a tropical setup, complete with palm leaf umbrellas and drinks, wearing a flower garland around its neck. Meanwhile, Sejun is seen relaxing on a chair, drinking a cool beverage, as if he's on vacation, enjoying the moment. Sejun is lounging comfortably on a sunbed under a palm leaf umbrella, enjoying his drink while rabbits play around him. Next to him, Theo is also on a chair, though he looks a bit uncertain. Sejun starts explaining Theo's current situation. Since he was scammed into buying useless items, he couldn't sell them. And now he has no money left to start a new business. Theo reluctantly agrees, realizing his predicament. Sejun then presents a business proposal that could benefit them both. He offers to sell Theo's leftover items to other people, and, in return, give Theo a share of the profits. Theo, looking curious, asks about the incentive Sejun mentioned. Sejun clarifies that Theo can sell the items at higher prices than what he sets, allowing him to earn extra profit. As the campfire crackles, Sejun continues discussing the business proposal with Theo. He explains that Theo can sell the items at a much higher price because of his merchant skills. In return, Theo would earn a 3 to 5% commission from the items he sells. However, Theo is not pleased with the deal. He finds the commission rate too low and thinks the conditions are unfair. Internally, he questions whether Sejun is trying to deceive him and refuses to be fooled again. Just as Theo is about to reject the offer, Sejun remembers something and smirks. He tells Theo that he hasn't revealed the most important part yet. Then he calls out to the rabbits, instructing them to bring something over. The scene ends with a cloud of dust as the rabbits haul a large mysterious item toward them. Sejun confidently reveals the full details of his business proposal to Theo. Not only will Theo earn commission from selling the items, but Sejun also offers to pay him weekly with either grilled fish or an equivalent value in tower coins. Theo, initially skeptical, is caught off guard by the unexpected benefits of the deal. The sight of the freshly grilled fish tempts him, but he hesitates. Memories of his past scams and betrayals flash through his mind, particularly Scarum and the other merchants who deceived him before. Determined not to be fooled again, Theo tries to resist. However, he is visibly struggling, torn between his distrust and the tempting offer. Theo, still hesitant, tries to negotiate further, saying he'll reconsider the deal if Sejun gives him 20 grilled fish. He's clearly tempted, but wants to test his bargaining power. However, instead of being annoyed, Sejun grins wickedly, his expression turning sinister, as if he's been waiting for this moment. With a dramatic flourish, he declares that he's in a good mood and will give Theo even more than what he asked for. In an instant, a massive pile of grilled fish is dumped onto Theo, overwhelming him. Stunned and confused, Theo falls backward, completely caught off guard by Sejun's over-the-top generosity. Theo is shocked as he processes Sejun's words. Not just 20, but 25 grilled fish. His eyes sparkle with excitement, his tiny paws trembling with joy as the reality of the deal sinks in. Sejun, amused, continues sweetening the offer, telling Theo that besides the weekly pay, he can eat as much grilled fish as he wants whenever he's hungry. Theo's ears perk up, and his whole body shakes with anticipation. "Really?" he asks, barely believing his luck. Sejun, with a mischievous grin, leans in and confirms it. He can eat as much as he wants. Theo's heart races, his pupils dilate, and he clutches his tiny paws together in pure bliss. The thought of endless grilled fish is too much to handle. He's completely sold on the deal. Sejun, eager to seal the deal, asks Theo if he has any paper to make their agreement official. Theo, now fully committed, quickly rummages through his belongings and pulls out a piece of paper with an enthusiastic, "I have it." With a determined look, Sejun grabs the paper and swiftly starts writing. His expression is serious and focused, making sure their contract is clear and fair. As the final stroke of the pen is made, the agreement between Party A, Park Sejun, and Party B, Theo, is officially written down. Sejun, satisfied, confirms the contract's completion, while Theo, still clutching the paper, processes the significance of the moment. With the deal sealed, their partnership is now official. Meanwhile, Theo, the merchant cat, stood nearby, eyes wide with shock as realization dawned upon him. His tail bristled, and his ears twitched in panic. "I didn't realize I signed the contract because I was so excited, Nia!" Theo wailed, his fur standing on end. A cold chill ran down Sejun's spine. He turned toward Theo, confusion flickering across his face. "Wait. What?" Just as the words left his mouth, the contract in his hands suddenly trembled. An ominous glow surrounded the parchment as it lifted into the air, as if responding to an unseen force. Whoosh! A gust of magical energy surged around them, pulling the contract away from Sejun's grasp. It hovered above the ground, shimmering with an unnatural blue light. The letters on the parchment twisted and rearranged themselves, forming a glowing status window. Lifetime distribution contract. Sejun's stomach dropped. Theo, now frozen in place, stared at the contract in horror. The text on the contract detailed the agreement in cold, unyielding words. The holder of this contract, second party, is bound by a lifelong commitment to product sales. All profits will be distributed under the terms set forth by the first party. Failure to comply will result in the loss of one equal share of lifetime income. Theo, still reeling from shock, could barely process what he had just done. His tail drooped, and he let out a long, defeated sigh. He had signed the contract, without even realizing it. Seijun carefully examines the glowing contract window in front of him. He recalls that tower contracts are nearly indestructible and cannot be tampered with once signed. This realization helps him understand why they are designed this way. It ensures that agreements take effect immediately and remain valid without any possibility of alteration. Meanwhile, Theo, the merchant cat, is sitting on the ground, visibly distraught. His ears are drooping, and his tail twitches slightly as he processes what just happened. He seems overwhelmed by the fact that he unknowingly signed his first contract under such unexpected circumstances. As Seijun continues reading, his eyes land on a specific section of the contract. Something catches his attention. He leans in, analyzing the details carefully. At the same time, Theo also notices the clause, and his expression changes. His ears perk up slightly, and his eyes widen in concern. He appears hesitant, as if dreading what he has just discovered. His body tenses, and he shifts uncomfortably. Seijun, remaining composed, acknowledges Theo's reaction, but doesn't seem overly concerned. He turns to Theo and gently taps his forehead with his fingers. A light-hearted gesture meant to reassure him. Theo flinches slightly at the unexpected tap, his tail flicking in response. He looks up at Seijun, momentarily startled, but doesn't protest. However, as he takes another glance at the contract, his face darkens. His ears lower again, and his paws tighten into small fists. His eyes lock onto a specific line in the contract, and his expression shifts from worry to deep concern. He points at the section with a trembling paw, realizing the weight of what it means. If he fails to meet the conditions of the contract, there could be serious consequences. Seijun observes Theo's reaction, his own expression turning more serious. The situation is becoming clearer to both of them. This contract is more binding than they initially thought, and it may have long-term consequences that neither of them fully anticipated. As they stand there, processing this new reality, a heavy silence fills the air. They both understand that from this moment on, their choices will matter more than ever. Seijun kneels beside Theo, placing a reassuring hand on the merchant cat's head. His expression is confident and encouraging, as if trying to ease Theo's concerns about the contract. Theo stands stiffly, his ears slightly lowered, still processing the situation. However, Seijun's unwavering belief in him seems to catch him off guard. As Seijun pats his head affectionately, Theo's tail twitches, and his posture relaxes. His ears perk up slightly as he absorbs the words of encouragement. For a moment he seems lost in thought, repeating the title Seijun just gave him. Sales Cat Theo, the Resourceful. A spark of excitement flickers in his eyes. A wide grin spreads across Theo's face, his tail swishing with newfound confidence. He lets out a small pleased chuckle, clearly delighted by the nickname. Seijun watches Theo's reaction with amusement. His expression softens as he realizes how simple and easily motivated Theo is. However, after basking in the praise for a moment, Theo suddenly becomes serious again. His ears tilt slightly, and he glances up at Seijun with a questioning look. A thought crosses his mind. What exactly is he supposed to be selling? Seijun pauses, as if he hadn't given it much thought before. His expression shifts to a nonchalant smile as he casually responds. The answer? Cherry tomatoes. A simple yet unexpected response, leaving an air of mystery about what's to come. Theo's eyes widen in disbelief as he processes Seijun's response. His ears perk up, and his tail stiffens slightly. He wasn't expecting something as simple as cherry tomatoes to be the product he'd be selling. His shock is evident as he stares at Seijun, trying to comprehend if this is some kind of joke. Seijun, remaining completely unfazed, reaches down and plucks a ripe, red cherry tomato from the lush green plants surrounding them. Holding it between his fingers, he casually extends it toward Theo. Theo watches as the small fruit gleams under the sunlight, its vibrant red color standing out against the greenery. His ears twitch and his tail flicks as he hesitantly reaches out. Taking the tomato in his paw, Theo examines it closely, still unsure what to make of it. Doubt creeps into his mind. Is this tiny fruit really worth selling? His thoughts spiral as he wonders about its marketability. If he's lucky, could he even sell it for 1 tower coin? Would the new awakeners entering the tower even find value in it? Still skeptical, Theo ponders the tomato's true worth, unaware of the magical properties it holds. A realization is beginning to form, but whether it's excitement or further doubt remains to be seen. Sejun casually states the price of the cherry tomatoes, 0.05 tower coin per piece, as if it's a completely reasonable amount. Theo, however, is immediately taken aback. His ears shoot up, and his fur bristles in shock. 0.05 tower coin? His mouth falls open in disbelief as he processes the price. His mind races. Who in their right mind would buy something like this for that much? But just as quickly as doubt settles in, a new thought emerges. Wait. No. This might actually be a good thing. Theo reevaluates the contract conditions. If their total monthly revenue falls below 5 tower coins, the agreement allows him to receive grilled fish as compensation. His tail flicks, and a small smirk forms as he realizes this safety net could work in his favor. Still, he needs to approach this strategically. The first step? Deciding how much stock to bring for selling. He turns to Sejun, who watches him expectantly. A moment of calculation passes before Theo finally makes his decision. 1,000. With that, the scene shifts to a huge basket overflowing with cherry tomatoes, freshly harvested and gleaming in the sunlight. Below it, an equally large pile of neatly wrapped grilled fish is stacked, ready for distribution. The rabbits stand nearby, proudly presenting the goods, their ears perked with excitement. It's time for business to begin. Sejun stands before the neatly arranged pile of goods, gesturing toward the basket of cherry tomatoes and the stack of grilled fish. He confidently informs Theo that he has already prepared the weekly payment of fish, ensuring the merchant cat won't go hungry. Theo listens attentively but soon raises an important question. How will he carry everything? Without hesitation, Theo pulls out a special item, the bundle. He holds up a purple cloth, seemingly ordinary at first glance, but he explains its unique properties. The bundle isn't just a regular storage sack. It possesses preservation magic, which prevents items from spoiling, space expansion magic, allowing it to hold an enormous quantity of goods, and weight reduction magic, making even heavy loads feel light. With a swift flick of his paw, Theo tosses the bundle into the air. Immediately, a powerful vortex of magic surges forth, pulling the cherry tomatoes and grilled fish into the swirling energy. The items vanish into the enchanted cloth, neatly stored away as Theo prepares for his journey. With his supplies secured, the merchant cat's adventure is about to begin. After using his magical bundle to store all the cherry tomatoes and grilled fish, Theo lets it drop to the ground with a soft thud. The once large pile of goods is now neatly packed away inside the enchanted storage. Sejun watches the process unfold and nods in approval. He can't help but comment on how convenient the item is, impressed by its practicality. Theo, now fully prepared, adjusts the bundle on his back, his posture exuding confidence. He turns towards Sejun with a determined expression and a cheerful wave, announcing his departure. Then I'll be back. With that, he swiftly makes his way toward the exit of the underground cavern. Sejun and the white rabbits watch from below as Theo leaps upward, heading toward the bright blue sky where 2 flying creatures await him at the edge of the cavern. As Theo disappears into the light, Sejun and his companions wave, marking the beginning of Theo's first merchant journey. The scene shifts to a few days later on the 38th floor of the tower. The bright blue sky stretches above towering rock formations, marking a dramatic change in location. Suddenly, a thunderous roar pierces the air. A massive crimson-scaled monster with enormous wings and sharp, menacing claws erupts onto the battlefield, its terrifying screech sending shockwaves through the surroundings. Below, a group of adventurers stands their ground, their weapons drawn and magic surging in their hands. They are in the middle of a fierce battle, their bodies tense as they face off against the ferocious beast. One of the adventurers shouts out a command. There's still one more monster left. They need to corner it quickly before it can escape or cause more destruction. The ground trembles as the monster lets out another deep growl, its blood-red eyes flashing with hostility. In a flash, one of the fighters unleashes a powerful energy blast, crackling blue magic colliding with the monster's armored hide. The battle is far from over. The battle on the 38th floor of the tower rages on, as the adventurers launch a coordinated attack against the crimson-scaled monster. From the backline, mages raise their staffs, chanting as they unleash multiple fireballs toward the beast. The blazing projectiles streak through the air, exploding upon impact with the monster's tough hide. The creature lets out a piercing screech, momentarily staggered by the magical assault. Seizing the opportunity, a dark-haired warrior dashes forward, his body moving with precision. He wields a massive, glowing energy blade, its blue light humming with power. With a swift motion, he swings the blade upward, aiming directly at the monster's weak spot. The onlookers watch in awe as the warrior's strike lands perfectly, forcing the beast to crash into the ground with a loud impact. One of the nearby adventurers comments on his skill, acknowledging that this is to be expected from the leader of the Phoenix Guild, Dong Shik. Another adventurer, watching from the sidelines, smirks and teases him, saying that they already predicted he would finish the fight with that move. As the dust settles, it's clear that the battle is reaching its climax. With the battle nearly finished, Dongmin, the leader of the Phoenix Guild, stands at the center of the battlefield, his arms crossed as he addresses his team. He tells everyone to stop with the praises and focus on wrapping things up. His tone is firm, but not harsh. He's a leader who values efficiency. However, he specifically calls out Jessica, one of the female adventurers, warning her that he won't let her get away with cheating like last time. Jessica, a blonde warrior with a playful personality, simply grins and responds in a teasing tone. With a confident smirk, she reminds Dongmin that he knows she loves him, right? Dongmin exhales sharply, clearly exasperated. He mutters to himself about how annoying she can be, but it's clear from his expression that he's used to her antics. Just as he's about to move on, something catches his attention. His posture shifts, and his eyes narrow sharply as he suddenly senses an unfamiliar presence nearby. With a swift motion, he turns his head toward the source, his instincts kicking in. His voice rings out in alert. "Who's there?" The tension rises as he prepares for a potential new threat. From the shadows, a small figure emerges. Stepping into the light with a confident stride, Theo, the merchant cat, makes his grand entrance. His bright green eyes gleam mischievously as he tilts his head and addresses Dongmin directly. "Human." Theo's voice is smooth and composed as he presents himself. His tail flicks playfully, and he raises a paw in a welcoming gesture. "Would you like to see some good stuff, Naya?" Dongmin, who had been preparing for a possible enemy attack, freezes in disbelief. His sharp, battle-ready stance falters slightly as he takes in the sight of the small, cloaked feline before him. "A cat?" The other adventurers quickly gather around, just as confused. Some react with surprise, while others mutter among themselves. One of them suddenly recognizes Theo's identity and exclaims in realization, "It's a cat-wandering merchant." The reaction ripples through the group, causing a mix of shock and curiosity. A talking cat merchant wasn't something they expected to encounter. Jessica, among the group, reacts with wide eyes. "What? A cat?" Theo, unfazed by their surprise, flashes a confident smile and formally introduces himself. "Nice to meet you all, Naya." The atmosphere shifts from tense to intrigued as everyone processes this unexpected new arrival. As Theo confidently introduces himself, his adorable appearance and speech pattern instantly captivate some of the adventurers. Two female guild members gush in excitement, their eyes sparkling as they react to the small merchant cat. "It said Nya! How cute!" one exclaims, while the other admires Theo's tiny paws with pure delight. Theo, noticing their enthusiasm, smirks smugly and plays along. "I'm cute, Nia?" he asks, clearly enjoying the attention. Meanwhile, a flashback of Seijun's advice comes to Theo's mind. Seijun had once told him to make sure to use Granar's dialect when speaking to humans, explaining that it would help catch their attention more effectively. Theo's eyes widen in understanding. Oh, so that's the reason. He now fully realizes why speaking this way works in his favor. With confidence, Theo decides to seize the moment. Jumping onto a large basket filled to the brim with cherry tomatoes, he proudly presents his goods. "Everyone, please look at what I brought, Naya." The adventurers turn their attention to the overflowing basket, curious and intrigued, as Theo prepares to begin his sales pitch. As Theo proudly presents his basket of cherry tomatoes, the adventurers examine them with skepticism. One of the female adventurers, holding a tomato between her fingers, tilts her head in confusion. "What is this?" she asks, clearly unimpressed. Another adventurer, dressed in a mage's robe, also inspects the small fruit, blinking in disbelief. "Wait, you came here to sell food?" The atmosphere shifts slightly as the adventurers exchange puzzled glances. Of all things, a cat merchant had appeared just to sell tomatoes? A warrior with a serious expression crosses his arms, unimpressed. "If you're going to sell something, it should be bread or meat. But cherry tomatoes?" His voice carries doubt, as if questioning Theo's business sense. But Theo, completely unfazed, lets out a confident chuckle. "Ho ho! Foolish humans. I knew you would say that, Nia." His eyes gleam with amusement as he watches their confusion. He then leans forward slightly, lowering his voice as if revealing a well-kept secret. "These aren't ordinary cherry tomatoes, Nia. They're different." The adventurers blink in surprise. "Different?" Theo's tail flicks smugly as he gestures toward the fruit in their hands. "Why don't you check their stats, Naya?" The moment he says this, the adventurers' expressions shift. Realizing what Theo is suggesting, they quickly activate their appraisal skills, inspecting the mysterious fruit's properties. Their eyes widen as the truth becomes clear. "Wait, is this an item?" The skepticism is gone. Now they're genuinely intrigued. One of the adventurers activates their appraisal skill, causing a glowing status window to appear in front of them. Their eyes scan the information displayed, reading aloud. It says, "Magic cherry tomato." The others listen as they continue reading. The item description reveals that the tomato increases a stat for 10 minutes. Another adventurer frowns, unimpressed. "That's too low. How much does it cost?" Theo, standing proudly by his basket of goods, flicks his tail and responds with confidence. "It's 0.05 tower coin per piece, Nia." Immediately, complaints break out among the adventurers. One of them exclaims in disbelief. 0.05 tower coin? Are you kidding me?" Frustration is evident in their voices. "I'd rather buy equipment than waste my coins on something like this." Another grumbles. Disappointed, some of them begin turning away, brushing off Theo's sales pitch as a waste of time. However, just as they're about to leave, one adventurer hesitates, their eyes locked on the status window. A new detail catches their attention, something they hadn't noticed before. Their grip tightens around the cherry tomato as they read the unexpected effect. "You'll lose 10 of fat when you eat it." Their breath hitches. Wait. A realization dawns upon them. "If I eat this, I'll lose 10 of my fat?" Their expression shifts from doubt to sudden intrigue, signaling that Theo's product might not be as useless as they first thought. At first, the adventurers were completely uninterested in Theo's cherry tomatoes, dismissing them as useless. But the moment one of them realizes the tomatoes burn fat just by eating them, everything changes. A sudden shift in atmosphere occurs. The adventurers who are about to leave freeze mid-step. Eyes widen, bodies tense. This is no ordinary food item. A deep realization spreads among them like shockwaves, and the weight loss effect becomes the only thing on their minds. Then, chaos erupts. Adventurers immediately turn back, rushing toward Theo. Some push past each other, while others raise their hands, eager to buy as much as possible. One adventurer, driven by desperation, steps forward aggressively, attempting to claim the entire stock for themselves. Others shout in protest, unwilling to back down. The once skeptical and mocking group is now fighting over the very product they dismissed moments ago. Theo, calm and composed, watches the commotion unfold. His tail flicks smugly as he sits proudly in front of his basket, knowing full well that his business is now a massive success. What was supposed to be a simple sales pitch has now turned into a full-blown bidding war. A long line of adventurers has now formed, eagerly waiting for their turn to purchase the magic cherry tomatoes. The once chaotic bidding war has turned into an organized queue, but the demand remains high. Even those who were hesitant before are now considering buying some for themselves. Meanwhile, back at the underground farm, Sejun wipes his brow, taking a small break after another round of harvesting. A glowing notification appears before him. He has leveled up and gained a bonus stat. Holding a freshly picked cherry tomato between his fingers, he takes a moment to reflect on Theo's progress. By now, Theo must have already met with the adventurers and started selling. Sejun inspects the tomato carefully, recognizing its unique properties. At first glance, it looks like a regular fruit, something simple and ordinary. However, he knows better. Not only does the magic cherry tomato enhance magic power, but it also has an incredible secondary effect. It automatically dissolves 10 of fat and revitalizes the body. With a small smile, Sejun realizes what he's holding isn't just food. It's the perfect diet product that no one else in the tower has. And with Theo selling them, this could be the start of something big. Sejun takes a bite of a magic cherry tomato, savoring its taste. The crisp texture and fresh flavor make it enjoyable to eat, and he confirms to himself that there are no side effects, only benefits. As he chews, he looks around at his thriving tomato plants, bathed in warm sunlight. The underground farm continues to flourish, and with the tomatoes being both delicious and incredibly effective, he's now certain that they will be a huge success. A confident smile spreads across his face as he clenches his fist, fully convinced. These will sell. A lot. Looking at the abundant harvest around him, Sejun thinks back to the diet trends on Earth and how people are always searching for easy ways to lose weight. If these tomatoes existed back home, they would be unstoppable. With full confidence, he places his trust in the Earth's diet trends, knowing that this product will be in high demand among the adventurers. Meanwhile, back at Theo's market stall, the reality of this success hits hard. The entire stock of magic cherry tomatoes has been completely sold out. Theo, stunned, processes what just happened. His first major sale has exceeded all expectations. Theo, exhausted but victorious, crouches down, panting heavily. His basket, once filled to the brim with cherry tomatoes, is now completely empty. Before him, a small pouch of coins has spilled onto the grass, golden tower coins gleaming in the sunlight. His first big sale has been a massive success, but the sheer effort of handling such a large crowd has clearly worn him out. Despite his exhaustion, satisfaction flickers in his eyes. He has just proven himself as a true merchant, turning something as simple as cherry tomatoes into a highly sought-after product. With the sales now over, Theo finally takes a moment to catch his breath, knowing that this is just the beginning of his business journey. A new day begins on Sejun's underground farm. Surveying his crops, he carefully analyzes the growth progress of his latest batch of plants. The carrot seedlings he bought from the seed shop have begun to sprout, but only 70% of them successfully took root. Despite the decent germination rate, Sejun remains thoughtful, considering what could be improved. Meanwhile, his magic cherry tomato crops, planted using the seeds he harvested from previous batches, have a lower success rate. Out of 1,000 seeds, only 230 have sprouted and are actively growing. As he takes in the state of his fields, his eyes scan the lush rows of flourishing tomato plants, their vibrant red fruits hanging heavily from the vines. Bright golden bees flutter between the plants, adding a mystical touch to the thriving underground ecosystem. Despite the challenges in germination, Sejun's farm continues to expand and flourish, marking another step in his journey as the tower's only solo farmer. Sejun continues analyzing the germination rates of his crops. The corn and sweet potato seeds he bought from the seed shop and planted himself have a success rate of around 60–70%, similar to his carrots and cherry tomatoes. While this rate is decent, he wonders if his low-tower farmer level or the lack of naturally fertile soil inside the cave might be affecting the growth. Nearby, a rabbit stands beside a small sprout, curiously inspecting the young plant, as if sharing Sejun's concern. Determined to improve his farming, Sejun remains optimistic. He decides to keep trying different methods and believes that with time, he'll discover a better way to cultivate his crops more efficiently. Now that he has figured out how to earn tower coins, his next priority is maximizing his harvest. If he can produce and sell more crops, his self-sufficient farming strategy will become even more sustainable. With a renewed sense of purpose, Sejun and his rabbit companion look out toward the farm, ready to take on the next challenge. A fireball is conjured, spinning rapidly in the air. It spirals downward, carefully guided by a precise motion before being launched toward the water. The fireball glides through the air, its fiery glow reflecting on the surface as it descends toward a deep underground lake. The moment it makes contact, a massive reaction occurs. The water erupts violently, and in an instant a school of fish leaps out in synchronized motion, their bodies shimmering as they break through the surface. Watching from the shore, a small rabbit companion observes the spectacle, its ears perked in anticipation. Then, with swift agility, it leaps forward, ready to take action. As the fish leap from the water, the black rabbit swiftly springs into action. With precise and calculated movements, it strikes the airborne fish mid-air, causing them to drop to the ground in rapid succession. Each impact is sharp and efficient, ensuring that none escape back into the water. The rabbit, equipped with a small wooden hammer, continues its expert hunting technique, catching and knocking down even more fish. Meanwhile, another fireball descends, signaling that the hunting process is far from over. Moments later, Sejun arrives at the scene, accompanied by a group of white rabbits. He watches the aftermath with an impressed expression, taking note of the black rabbit's improved hunting skills. The ground is now covered in freshly caught fish, the successful hunt proving just how skilled and efficient the rabbit has become. The black rabbit, standing proudly over its hull, lets out a satisfied cry, clearly pleased with its accomplishment. As Sejun observes the black rabbit's successful hunt, something unexpected happens. A soft glow begins to radiate from the rabbit's body, its fur shimmering with a faint blue aura. The light pulses gently, signaling a significant change. Sejun quickly realizes what's happening. The black rabbit is leveling up. He has seen the white rabbits level up before, usually from farming activities, but this is the first time he has witnessed the black rabbit undergoing this transformation. Kneeling down, Sejun places a proud hand on the rabbit, acknowledging its growth and progress as a hunter. The black rabbit, now stronger than before, lets out an excited cry, standing tall and confident. Nearby, the white rabbits watch in awe, clapping their paws together in admiration for their companion's achievement. Seeing that the hunt has been exhausting, Sejun suggests that they take a break before continuing their work. With the black rabbit's newfound strength, the group's survival and efficiency in the underground farm are sure to improve even further. With the hunt wrapped up, Sejun decides it's time to relax and enjoy a cup of coffee. A bright smile spreads across his face as he eagerly pulls out a black tumbler, anticipating the rich taste of his long-awaited drink. As he unscrews the lid, he discovers that the tumbler is still completely full of neatly packed coffee packets, untouched. Realization dawns upon him, and he chuckles at the situation. He recalls the goblin named Skaram, who once tried to scam Theo. It seems that despite all the trouble, the goblin never even opened the tumbler to use the coffee inside. Holding one of the coffee packets between his fingers, Sejun's excitement grows. If Theo ever starts selling this coffee, he might just end up spending all his money to buy it. For now, though, he's just happy to finally enjoy a good cup of coffee in the tower. Sejun happily prepares his long-awaited coffee, feeling triumphant about getting such a valuable item for free due to the goblin's ignorance. Since boiling water and making ice aren't easy in the tower, even a simple iced Americano feels like an absolute luxury in this environment. Luckily, he has his reliable bee companion, which provides him with poison bee honey, a rare ingredient that enhances both flavor and nutritional benefits. He carefully mixes the coffee powder with cool cave water, then adds a generous amount of thick honey from the poison bees. The golden liquid swirls into the dark coffee, creating a rich, bittersweet blend. Satisfied with his creation, he announces it's done, his very own honey Americano. A status window appears, describing the drink, a combination of coffee and poison bee honey, creating a perfect harmony of bitter and sweet flavors. Relieves both fatigue and hunger with just one sip. As he admires the dark, rich drink before him, he can't help but feel immensely proud. Not only is he enjoying a rare treat, but he has also discovered a new, practical item in the tower. Sejun takes a satisfying sip of his honey Americano, savoring the perfect blend of sweetness and bitterness. The cool drink is refreshing, and he happily enjoys this rare luxury in the tower. As he sits comfortably, surrounded by his rabbit companions, he looks over at the black rabbit and offers it a taste of his drink. Curious, the black rabbit leans in and takes a sip through the straw. The moment the strong, bitter coffee hits its tongue, its entire body tenses up. Eyes wide, it immediately spits out the drink in shock. The other rabbits watch in amusement, while Sejun bursts into laughter at the reaction. He realizes that rabbits might have a stronger sensitivity to bitterness than humans, making the honey Americano an overwhelming experience for them. As the black rabbit recovers from the unexpected taste, Sejun continues to laugh at the adorable overreaction, enjoying the peaceful moment with his companions. As Sejun enjoys his break, a familiar buzzing sound catches his attention. Looking up, he sees his poison bee companion hovering in the air, carrying something unusual. The bee excitedly flutters down, greeting Sejun with its usual cheerful energy. Sejun, curious about what it's holding, focuses on the large golden object the bee is carrying. The moment it comes into full view, he freezes in surprise. It's a beehive. His mind races as he processes the unexpected sight. Could this mean a steady supply of poison bee honey? His rabbits gather around, also staring up at the hive with curious expressions, as Sejun prepares to figure out what this discovery could mean for his farm. Sejun looks at the poison bee and its newly placed hive, wondering if it plans to stay permanently in the underground farm. The white rabbits curiously watch the exchange, while the black rabbit reacts dramatically, seeming both excited and overwhelmed by the idea of the bee moving in. As Sejun reflects on how their small group is starting to feel like a real family, a new quest notification suddenly appears before him. The tower manager has issued a request. Give 8 magic cherry tomatoes to them. The reward is unknown, but refusing the quest comes with an ominous note. Refusal, disappointment. Sejun smirks, realizing that the tower manager must have taken notice of his deal with Theo and now wants some of the tomatoes as well. Rather than issuing threats like, do it or else, the tower manager instead sounds disappointed, like someone who has been left out of a treat. Amused by this, Sejun decides to accept the request, taking some cherry tomatoes from his supply and handing them over. Immediately, a quest completion window appears, confirming that the tower manager is thanking him for his kindness. As Sejun hands over the tomatoes, he wonders what kind of reward he'll receive this time. Sejun crosses his arms, feeling quite pleased with himself after completing the tower manager's request. Receiving gratitude from such a powerful entity boosts his confidence, making him feel even more important. However, as the moment sinks in, a sudden realization hits him. Did he just give away his precious crops so easily? His expression shifts, and he pauses in thought, questioning whether he acted like a pushover by handing over the tomatoes without negotiating a reward first. Just as he starts rethinking his decision, a loud crashing sound echoes from another location. The scene shifts to an unknown town, where a wooden barrel filled with something golden slams onto a surface with great force. Inside a dimly lit tavern, a group of goblins sits around a wooden table, drinking and chatting. Their conversation revolves around a certain cat merchant, Theo, who hasn't returned. One of the goblins, wearing a dark hat and cloak, seems frustrated and impatient, wondering why the cat hasn't come back yet. Another goblin smirks, reminding him that Theo was easily deceived the last time. They tricked him into buying worthless items, making a huge profit from the scam. However, despite selling off the junk, there's a problem. The Wandering Merchant Guild refused to accept the items, meaning the scam didn't go as smoothly as they hoped. As they continue drinking, one of them brings up an unsettling thought. What if Theo actually returns? The goblin who scammed him pauses, looking uneasy. If the cat does come back, it will be difficult to pretend he never saw him. With a deep sigh, he leans back and comments that he's too nice of a guy to simply act like nothing happened. Though he tries to laugh it off, there's an underlying tension. If Theo returns, will he be seeking revenge? The goblin Scarum, still seated at the tavern table, leans forward with a sinister grin, revealing his new scheme. Instead of avoiding Theo, he plans to trap him in debt. His idea is to gain Theo's trust by offering him a glass of milk and pretending to support his business dreams. Then, once Theo is convinced, Scaram will generously lend him money, but with hidden usury, extremely high interest rates. He chuckles darkly, knowing that Theo will never be able to repay the debt, especially as the interest continues to grow endlessly. His eyes glow red with greed, and he grips his mug tightly, fully convinced that in the end, Theo will have no choice but to become his lifelong slave. The other goblins burst into laughter, praising Skaram's cunning mind. One of them calls him a genius, while another suggests that he should track down Theo as soon as possible. After all, finding a pushover like that isn't easy. They all raise their mugs in agreement, entertained by the thought of exploiting Theo further. But what they don't realize is that Theo isn't the same naive cat anymore. Skaram leans back confidently, telling the other goblins that there's no need to rush when it comes to taking advantage of Theo. He believes that patience is key when hunting prey, and there's still plenty of time to make their move. The other goblins nod in agreement, impressed by his calculated and strategic approach. Feeling relaxed, Skaram shifts the conversation, saying that he's thirsty, and suggests they check the rankings for the Wandering Merchant Guild's sales leaderboard. As expected, the ranking updates at this time, so they eagerly open the system window to see the latest standings. A bright blue screen appears, displaying the rankings. Skaram grins with satisfaction. He has finally made it into the top 1,000 for merchant sales. The other goblins react with admiration, impressed that he reached 999th place on the list. Meanwhile, one goblin looks at the rankings with a defeated expression, realizing that he didn't even make the list. The group continues to drink and celebrate, unaware that their position on the leaderboard is about to be completely overshadowed. Skaram smugly admires his ranking on the Wandering Merchant Guild's sales leaderboard, feeling satisfied with his scamming tactics. Selling junk items to naive buyers has proven to be a profitable strategy, and he grins with pride, eager to see who he will surpass next. However, as he scrolls through the rankings, his confident smirk suddenly vanishes. His eyes widen in shock, and his body tenses as he sees a new name appear on the list. Ranked 982nd, right below him, is Theo, marked as a new entry with 50 tower coins in sales. The goblins around him lean in to check the name, realizing that this Theo is none other than the cat they scammed. Skaram's hands tremble, and the mug in his grip slams onto the table, spilling its contents. How could this be happening? Theo, the pushover they deceived and mocked, has suddenly appeared in the rankings as a merchant, making legitimate sales. A tense silence fills the tavern, as an unsettling realization begins to creep into Skaram's mind. This cat might not be as easy to fool the next time they meet. Skaram grips the table, his eyes burning with disbelief and frustration. He refuses to accept that Theo could have legitimately sold anything. To him, it doesn't make sense. What exactly has the cat been up to? Meanwhile, back at Sejun's underground farm, Theo cheerfully returns, his tail held high in satisfaction. Sejun, tending to his flourishing tomato crops, is suddenly startled by Theo's arrival. His expression shifts into shock and mild frustration. Where had Theo been all this time? Before Sejun can even scold him, Theo immediately apologizes, promising that next time, even if his stock sells out, he won't wander around and will return right away. Despite his apparent guilt, Theo's successful sales have undoubtedly changed things. But as Sejun looks at him, he can't shake the feeling that something big is coming. Sejun, still frustrated by Theo's late return, questions him sternly. How many days had he been playing around instead of coming back? Theo, ears drooping, meekly responds, "He was gone for 4 extra days." Sejun's expression darkens. He recalls that Theo had originally said he needed at least 10 days for a round trip to the 30th floor to sell the tomatoes. Yet, despite selling out quickly, Theo took 4 extra days to wander around before returning. Theo, sensing Sejun's growing frustration, lowers his head apologetically, his tail curling slightly. "I'm sorry, Nya." Sejun, now deep in thought, realizes something important. If Theo returned in exactly 14 days and he spent 4 days playing, then that means Theo's cherry tomatoes must have sold out the moment he arrived on the 30th floor. Realizing just how valuable and in demand their produce is, Sejun stares at Theo, his expression shifting from frustration to something else entirely. Without hesitation, he grabs Theo, preparing for a serious talk. What kind of business opportunity has Theo stumbled upon? Sejun's expression darkens, his smile turning sinister as he leans in toward Theo. His eyes gleam with an ominous aura, sending a clear message. Theo better start talking. Theo flinches, feeling a chill run down his spine. With Seijun in strict boss mode, he has no choice but to spill everything. Desperate to avoid Seijun's scary side, Theo quickly confesses everything that happened on the 30th floor. The scene shifts to the lush underground farm, where Theo now sits in front of Seijun, surrounded by the curious white rabbits. After finishing his explanation, Theo nods confidently. That's how it all went down. Seijun, arms crossed, raises an eyebrow in disbelief. So you're telling me, you just talked a little, and the hunters bought everything? Theo, still sitting proudly, confirms it. Yes. That's exactly what happened, Naya. Without hesitation, Theo places a pouch of 50 tower coins in front of Seijun, the profit from his first business venture. Seijun looks at the pile of money, finally realizing something important. Theo's sales skills might be more valuable than he ever imagined. Seijun carefully inspects the bag of coins, weighing the success of Theo's first business trip. The results are impressive, but he hasn't forgotten about the 4-day delay. Looking at Theo, Seijun acknowledges his effort and hands him 2 tower coins as a reward. Theo excitedly reaches out, but just as he's about to take the coins, Seijun adds a condition. Theo has been demoted from Theo the Resourceful to just an employee due to his irresponsible delay. Theo's ears twitch in protest, shocked at the sudden downgrade. Wasn't he supposed to be the sales cat? Seijun calmly explains, if Theo performs well next time, he will reinstate his title and increase his commission to 5%. Hearing this, Theo quickly straightens up, determined to prove himself. He enthusiastically accepts his new mission, vowing to work harder and reclaim his title as Sales Cat Theo. Seijun then shifts the conversation, curious about Theo's speech pattern. Why does he keep adding "nya" at the end of his sentences? Theo, completely serious, responds, it's a deliberate choice. He's decided to embrace this way of speaking because humans seem to like it more. Seijun can't help but stare at him, realizing that Theo is far more business-savvy than he thought. Seijun laughs confidently, his excitement growing as he realizes the impact of Theo's sales. With such success, it's only a matter of time before everyone knows his name. Theo, curious and slightly nervous, tilts his head and asks what Seijun means. Seijun explains that the farmer's name appears in the item description of the magic cherry tomatoes. That means every hunter who buys them will see his name. Theo's eyes widen in shock as he processes this information. If that's true, then everyone in the tower will soon know that Seijun is the source of these powerful tomatoes. Suddenly, a dark realization dawns on Theo. His fur bristles, his pupils shrink, and cold sweat drips down his face. This could attract unwanted attention. His ears twitch in panic as he quickly comes to a single terrifying conclusion. He's in trouble, Naya. Theo internally panics as he remembers an important detail: the beginner wandering merchant system. This system automatically hides the origin of goods sold by new merchants. It was designed to protect beginners from having their suppliers stolen by wealthier, more experienced merchants. Theo quickly checks the item stats of the magic cherry tomatoes and confirms it. Seijun's name has been forcibly covered. This means that no one in the tower knows that Seijun is the cultivator. Relief washes over Theo. But then a new fear creeps in. If Seijun finds out about this hidden rule, he'll definitely be furious. His position as sales cat is already hanging by a thread. If Seijun thinks Theo intentionally hid this from him, he might not just be demoted to an intern. He could even be reduced to a part-time worker, Nya. His fur stands on end, and his tail twitches nervously. Seijun, noticing Theo's sudden shift in behavior, leans in curiously. What's wrong? Theo immediately plays it off, forcing a nervous laugh and waving his paws frantically. Nothing's wrong, Naya, he blurts out, sweat dripping down his face. In an attempt to change the subject, he suddenly volunteers to go sell more tomatoes immediately. Seijun, seeing through the suspicious behavior, tells Theo to relax and take a break. He still needs to receive his weekly pay before heading off again. But Theo is too desperate to escape before Seijun figures out the truth. Theo, still panicked, hurriedly tries to distract himself by focusing on work. He frantically packs cherry tomatoes into a container, ignoring the questioning looks from the rabbits. His thoughts race. He needs to act fast. If Seijun finds out about the hidden cultivator name too soon, it could be game over for his sales cat career. The only solution? Climb the merchant ranks as fast as possible. Theo grits his teeth, determined. If he can earn 1,000 tower coins and become a mid-level wandering merchant, he'll finally be able to remove the restriction hiding Seijun's name. That way, he can fix everything before it's too late. Meanwhile, Seijun watches from a distance, noticing Theo's suspiciously intense focus on his work. He wonders to himself, did he finally start taking this seriously? The chapter ends, with Theo working harder than ever. Not just for Seijun, but for his own survival. Nia! Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our next exciting recap. New videos will drop.